Welcome to Out Loud, a comedy podcast where I talk with queer comedians about identity as well as just talk and shop about the comedy community. I'm your host, Corbin Willmorth, and I'm here because, well, what comedian just doesn't have a podcast nowadays? Alright, welcome to another episode of Out Loud, a queer comedy podcast. As always, thank you so much for tuning in. So one thing I want to point out, yes, there was no episode last week. I was planning on doing a mini episode where instead of interviewing a comedian, I was going to talk about the history of queer representation in American sitcoms. But the problem with that is that I kind of went full-blown Pepe Sylvia and literally just wrote down an entire, script document going from the history of queer characters in the 1971 sitcom All in the Family to now, and by the end it literally looked like Charlie Day showing Mac his fucking wall of Pepe Sylvia conspiracies.
Take a look at this! Jesus Christ!
Anyway, the point that I'm making is that I went so deep into researching this that I missed my deadline by 2 days, and at that point I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let me put this on the back burner, because if I just keep going into this right now, I'm never going to get it released. Anyway, that said, I have an interview for this episode. When I had made the promo, I didn't catch a mistake. I said that she was from New Jersey. She's not. She's from Long Island. I mean, either way, both are full of Italian people ready to beat the shit out of me for making the mistake, but let's just ignore that for now, and let's talk about Billie Manton.
I have what I would consider to be an amicable relationship with my penis. You know? It's an amicable relationship. Me and my penis, we're kind of like a young couple who moved into a very expensive city, but we've recently fallen in love. But neither of us can really afford to live in that city on our own. So we just kind of have to find a way to make it work. It's just listen, I'd love to see you out of here, but in this economy, nothing doing.
It was honestly really fun to sit down and talk with her. It was a real pleasure. One thing I do kind of wish was during this very limited 40-minute Zoom call, because I am broke as shit and I'm not paying for fucking Zoom, because who the fuck would pay for Zoom? We did kind of rush the last couple seconds, and Billie did DM be like, hey, do you want to start another Zoom meeting? And I was like, I got through all my questions. I think that's good. But I don't know, now that I kind of listened back to the recording, there was more that I wish I had kind of expanded upon and asked about. So I do regret kind of cutting that off. Maybe with this next comedian I talk to, I'll just keep the Zoom meetings going until we get everything talked about. But anyway, that's enough of me rambling. Let's get on with this interview, shall we?
Recording in progress. All right. So, how's it going?
It's going good. It's, we're only a week into the year now. The country's an absolute hellfire, but we're getting through it.
Could we get 7 days? At least 7, but no. Fuck no.
The week's been very weird. Sunday, I learned that I'm in the semifinals to get selected for a theater festival in Los Angeles.
Oh shit!
And then on Tuesday, I got into a car accident.
Oh,
and
fuck.
then today, I found out that I got a deposit back on my last apartment that I wasn't expecting to get. So it's a roller coaster right now.
Okay, so we got a huge up, and then a fucking crash downhill and then up again. Okay. Well, at least you got something to pay those hospital bills, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, thankfully it was just a fender bender, but
it's okay.
Just one of those annoying things. But yeah, no, it's add on top of that all the craziness of the world in the last 7 days, and it's 2026 definitely can't be called uneventful. I'll say that.
That is true, yeah. If just 1 week alone is just how the rest of this year is gonna go, holy shit.
We're just gonna have to work to survive at that point.
Real, honestly. All right, so why don't we just start this off? Tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
So I'm Billie Manton. I'm a Seattle-based comic, originally from New York City. Have a background in theater. Originally was working as a director and playwright in New York City. Moved
Yeah.
out to Seattle about a little bit over 4 years ago, and I've been doing stand up in Seattle for just about 2 years now.
Okay.
It's a really it's a really fun scene.
Yeah, I personally I haven't been able to check out what the Seattle scene's like. I've kind of just been stuck here in Spokane for a bit. But I just gotta ask, what brought you over like to decide to just make like a huge cross country like just move from New York to Seattle?
Uh, part of it is my partner has family out here. The
Mm,
other part of it is just living in New York City as an essential worker during 2020 and 2021 definitely took a lot of the shine off of it. I
right.
mean, I'm originally from the New York area. I lived in Brooklyn for about 7 years, and
Hmm.
we kind of I have a lot of people who look at me sideways when I tell them I moved to Seattle to get to a smaller city.
Is kind of like the New York area, is that how much bigger it is from Seattle? Because I kind of like I grew up kind of in the Seattle area, and then I moved here like 8-ish years ago because rent was cheaper. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, for comparison, like New York is just such a monolith city compared to Seattle. Like, you can drive south to north through Seattle in, 20 to an hour, depending on traffic,
right.
obviously. But New York City is just such a massive monolith of a place, which is, it is very nice. There's always so many wonderful things to do, but definitely working in art spaces, it can be pretty tough if you're not generationally wealthy.
Yeah, yeah, that is certainly one crutch that I've noticed. Yeah, can't really get anywhere without being generationally wealthy.
If you can do it, I guess good for you, but some of us got to do it the hard way, I suppose.
I suppose. Yeah. All right, so I got a list of questions here. I don't know if you have listened to the podcast before, but I for the new year, I wrote out a whole new list of questions. Some of it are carryovers, but a lot of it's new. You ready?
Okay, yeah, fire away.
All right, great. So, what's something you're obsessed with right now that hasn't been turned into a joke yet?
So I'm actually in the process of starting a new series. One of my most recent internet rabbit holes I've fallen down is, have you heard about kitchen cells?
Ooh, tell me about this. I've heard about it.
So it's a subreddit community it's a subsect of the incel culture where they make these posts that have almost like this kind of poetic haiku flow to them, where it's people telling a very sad story about their incel life, and then followed by a picture of food they're eating.
What the
So
fuck?
it'll be like somebody talking about, like, this girl looked at me at the bus stop, and when I looked back at her, she had like a disgusted look on her face, and then it'll just be like a picture of a really shitty looking sandwich.
I'll never
It's
understand why women never want to fuck me. Anyway, here's some mushroom ravioli.
Yeah, and it's just the kind of the format of them is like I say they're haiku-ish because it's like the last line is always just the what the meal is. So it'll
Uh-huh.
be a short story, and then just the final line is just the name of the food item in the picture.
What the
And so I've been starting to do a series of videos that I'm going to be releasing on Instagram over the next couple of weeks. That's just me doing dramatic readings of them set to classical music.
is the footage going to be you preparing the meal, or is it just like you like in front of a fireplace and you're reading the story and then slowly you reveal like a plate of something?
So far, the plan has been, just because I do about 3 or 4 of the posts per video, just because they're usually like 2 or 3 sentences.
Hmm.
So what I've been doing is I've been planning on just having a background video of me irreparably fucking up food. So
Oh,
far, so far it has been literally just me setting up a tripod on a frying pan and then just leaving a frying egg there until it's pretty much a shriveled yolk.
yikes. Okay.
I make it sound way artsier than it is, but like there's something about like the defeated nature of all these stories and just watching food slowly get destroyed. Because I always start with like, like I'm a very good cook. I always start with a very nice egg and just let it fucking sizzle to death.
Yeah. Oh, that sounds so fucking good.
No, yeah, it's just that it's definitely worth jumping down the rabbit hole to take a look at that subreddit. It's definitely gotten to the point where I imagine maybe only about half of it is people who are genuine and half of it is just people trying to play off the format, but it's hilarious.
Half of it is trolls, and then half of it is genuinely people who are just so fucking sad.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, I fucking love that about Reddit. Oh god, I heard the worst story from Reddit where it's like someone made this post that could not be more incelly where they described like a vagina as a horribly optimized interface.
Ugh.
And the longer you read it, the more it's just like, why can't vaginas be more like penises? And I'm like, you can admit that you like dick. Like you don't have to pretend.
Well, and that's honestly, it's one of the things I find most interesting about kitchen cells is that there is a strange contingent of users who are I mean I'm a trans woman and there are a lot of people on there
Right.
who are effectively they've had the egg hatch and they're trying to desperately tape the egg back together.
Ooh,
Like there are people who
interesting.
are like it's there's a weird like I want to say about like 10% of that community is people who are like I've thought about being a girl my entire life, but I'm totally a cis guy. Anyway, here's, a full bag of Doritos that I have. Like, and there's almost like going into the incel culture is a way to escape examining their own gender. I want to like
Weird.
I've only gotten into it in the last couple of weeks. After like a couple months of viewing it, I kind of want to write an essay about it just because it's a fascinating little subculture.
Honestly now I want to stalk this subreddit and try to see if I can find those. Holy shit. That's fucking crazy. One thing I've learned talking with people on this podcast is that there's a difference between queer comics and comics who are queer. Do you consider yourself to be a queer comic or a comic who just so happens to be queer?
I definitely would consider myself a queer comic. I mean, a lot of the rooms that I started in were specifically rooms more dedicated to queer comedy.
Uh-huh.
There are definitely comics who I know who will touch on it occasionally. I think it's a large part of it as well goes to the fact with I only started my transition fairly short after beginning comedy,
Uh-huh.
so it's a topic that's been on my mind a lot since
Right.
I started. So a lot of my favorite jokes definitely have to do with my gender, and that's also just part of my comedy. Is I prefer to have it be personal. I prefer to have it be me talking about my own life as opposed to, just observations on this or that. Like I prefer the stories to kind of come from my personal experience.
Right. What does it mean to you to be a queer comic?
I think a big part of being a queer comic, and this is definitely like even in a city as queer as Seattle, it's
Mm-hmm.
a big part of it is kind of fighting for your place in the big rooms.
Right.
It's a lot of this idea of like, pretty much every comedy scene, like, there are the queer mics, and then I go to like, just shows at clubs or like I'll be on a showcase at one of the bigger clubs around town, and it's definitely like, you hear some not great stuff. You hear some terrible takes. You hear a bunch of straight white guys talking about how you can't say anything anymore, and then 30 seconds later they're just saying a series of slurs.
Yeah.
So I think a big part of being a queer comic, especially nowadays, is kind of pushing against a lot of that part of the comedy system
Mm-hmm.
and showing people that you can talk about your own experience. And I talk a lot about being trans in my act, not just when I do queer comedy shows, but when I just like, if I get booked to open or feature for like a touring headliner or stuff. And folks surprise me a lot of the time. Like there are rooms where I see it and I'm like, there's not a visibly queer person in this audience, but I'll still have folks cracking up, which is it's been nice. It's been nice, and I think one of the things I enjoy about that is that there are probably some folks who are coming in from out of town. They may not necessarily know a trans person. They may have only,
Mm-hmm.
seeing things on the internet or on TV and getting to talk kind of genuinely about my experience, I feel to somebody who doesn't have a trans person in their life just kind of brings an actual human face to the community.
Yeah, that certainly is one positive thing. Like I'm kind of always so like I am a cis person just constantly surrounded. It's I think it's weird that I'm the only cis person in my friend group now that I'm thinking about this out loud. Uh,
I'm not going to examine that one for you.
yeah, I'd rather not. I'll talk about it later on r/kitchen selves. It's fine.
Okay. Okay.
But you know, that is certainly like this one dichotomy I've noticed that is very prevalent in Spokane as well. It's like you'll have your queer mics and then you'll have your not queer mics where they're like, oh yeah, no, like we're cool with you being like, you know, like a queer person. We're cool with that. Anyway, what's up with these fucking faggots in the city, huh? Like,
Oh,
like
there's a comedian who I won't say their name, but it was very funny because it was the first time I think I had ever talked to him where he had seen one of my sets previously, and he came up to me and he's like, "Oh my God, I saw your set. It was so funny." And then he got up and told some deeply homophobic jokes that or
fuck.
like even literally last night, I had a case of the comedian before me on a showcase was closing with a joke that was not terribly offensive, but definitely not in the best taste. The audience had kind of a mixed reaction. It was about him being rejected by a trans woman.
Oof.
And then I was up immediately after him, and my first thought was just, hey, listen, buddy, don't kiss and tell. Like that's not cool.
Oh fuck. I'm really blanking on it, but I was just last night at this show that was kind of like a fundraiser where like all the comics were bringing food to be donated.
Mhm.
And a comic that I consider to be a friend was there. Her name's Jenny Watson. She's referred to as Spokane's favorite trans bitch.
Okay.
Like that's just what the comedy community calls her, or at least the not queer comedy community calls her.
Okay.
And it was like me I fuck, I forgot what it was, but it was like the MC made some joke about like blowing a trans woman. Then Jenny was like, "Dude, you don't have to tell everyone." Like,
It's definitely like it's fun. It's like, as much as it is annoying to hear a lot of these jokes, it is fun to just unabashedly have an opportunity to put someone in their place.
right?
Like, there is this one comedian I know who tells a joke that he defends by saying it's not transphobic, it's misogynistic, and I just had to call out
that
one day, it's
that
both.
it
It's both. It can be two things.
trans inclusionary radical misogynist.
Yeah, no, it's a real visionary, you know?
Oh yeah. What is the most unhinged crowd reaction you've ever gotten?
Oh boy. I'm gonna say that there are two, and I think
Okay.
it's kind of because they happened at the same venue on different days.
Ooh.
Um, One was I was doing a joke about me coming out, and there was this audience member he clearly had a couple,
Hmm.
and he was not so lightly implying that his friend next to him was a closeted trans woman.
Ooh.
And I just kind of had to shame him and get the whole audience to boo him and then completely distract away because I could see that other person sinking in. Though I do think for a slightly funnier one, I did a set 2 weeks ago where after the set, I had these two guys kind of come up to me and they're just kind of both immediately talking at me at both sides. And I'm like trying to like listen to both of them. And I eventually tell one of the guys like, hey, I need to take a break. This guy got here first. I turn back to the guy. He is in the middle of going into very graphic detail about the very kinky sex he used to have with a fuck buddy who was a trans woman.
Ooh.
Um, Keep in mind, I did not talk about sex at all in my act. I talked about being trans. I did not have any talk about sex. So I'm kind of immediately feeling that like fight or flight, like this guy's just immediately talking very graphically about sex to me. But he said something at the end that made it all worthwhile because he told me like halfway through the conversation, he's like, yeah, and she eventually got her nuts chopped off, and she ended up asking the doctor to keep them, and she took one of them and sold it to a tattoo artist in exchange for a full back piece.
Real.
So she literally sold her left nut for a tattoo, and that made the whole interaction worthwhile.
Honestly, fucking real. Love that for her. Oh my
Goals,
god.
honestly, like, if I ever go the
Fuck.
orchiectomy route, I want to try to do that. I got some tattoos I've been wanting to get.
Well, shit, maybe this is just making me rethink the vasectomy I had last year. I could have just had one of them chopped off for a tattoo. Fuck.
Yeah, no, I actually, funny enough, so one of my kind of go-tos that I've had, probably like it's probably the joke I've been doing the longest, is a joke about my vasectomy.
Hmm.
And I actually got to the point now where the doctor who performed my vasectomy gave me a big pack of merch once he found out.
Oh.
So I have a bunch of merch from Dr. Snips here in Seattle. I'm basically a content promoter for them at this point.
Honestly, fucking real. Hey, what's the saying? Any publicity is good publicity, or
Oh
whatever
yeah,
such.
I mean,
Yeah.
like, it's one of those things where it's one of those ones where I like telling it because it also I just love watching the it's one of the few jokes I have where it's like cis guys get way more into it than anyone else. Like most
Right.
of my jokes, like, generally people like queer people or women, that's the joke I pull out that like the cis guys really get into it. Like I've had to get to a point now where I've had to add in like a break asking if people have gone to Dr. Snips, because more often than not, there's at least one person in the audience who went to the same vasectomy doctor when I tell that joke here in Seattle.
Oh, damn. Now I'm wondering if Dr. Snips would have been cheaper than Planned Parenthood. I don't know.
I couldn't tell you.
Damn.
Alright, y'all, welcome to the ad break where I plug any upcoming shows I have, plug anything that the people I interview have going on, and also plug just the social medias that this podcast does have. And where I also bombard you with ads that the service that I use to make this podcast has me put in here. One thing that I do find a little bit funny is that I'm currently using the same microphone that I used on that Zoom call, but the fact that the Zoom call sounds so goddamn compressed just tells me how much just Zoom is not the best tool I can be using for a audio-based entertainment format. I don't know what the words I'm looking for are, but fuck it, this is what I'm saying. So I don't know, maybe I should start looking into other outlets, maybe. I don't know, maybe if Mac OS would let me record Discord calls, this wouldn't be an issue, but fuck it. I'm working with what I got here. As always, you can follow the podcast on social media on Instagram, Threads, TikTok, and YouTube at Out Loud Comedy Podcast. Now, it has taken me a hot minute, but I think I found all of Billie's socials. So here we go. You can find her on YouTube at Billie M Comedy. The B, M, and C are capitalized. She can be found on both Instagram and Threads at Billie M Comedy, all lowercase. She can be found on TikTok at Billie M Comedy. And she can be found on Bluesky at cosmiccroptop.bsky.social. Billie, if you're listening to this and there's more that I didn't plug, please DM me and I'll add them to the description. And then if you wanted to find me on social media, you can find my TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, and Threads at CJW_comedy. You can find my YouTube at just CJW Comedy. And you can find my Bluesky at cjwcomedy.bsky.social. Okay, so tonight, January 13th, the day this podcast comes up, I will be doing the New Talent Tuesdays open mic at the Spokane Comedy Club, Be sure to check it out. Show's free. It starts at 7 p.m. And then not next week, but the week after, I will be at the Spokane Comedy Club again for the never-ending open mic, where it is just me and like 40 other comics just doing 3-minute set after 3-minute set after 3-minute set. Like it is like twice as long as their typical open mics. So if you just really have nothing to do and just want nothing but like 2-ish hours of comedy, just come on down. All right, now next month on February 13th, 7 p.m. in Seattle, Billie Manton is doing a self-produced show called let me listen to the audio again. It's called Down Low Comedy, and it's going to be at Jules Mays Saloon, which is a bar that I've always wanted to go to but never could because back when I lived in Seattle, I was not of age to drink. But yeah, if you're in Seattle next month and you're looking for something to do on the 13th, go on and check it out. It's a great way to support Billie. I can't believe I almost ended this ad segment without talking about our official, unofficial sponsor, W Energy. If you are looking for sugar-free, jitterless caffeine, or just don't like how G Fuel has a bunch of anime titties all over them, then you should check out W Energy. W comes in a huge variety of flavors, such as Galaxy Grenade, which is watermelon, guava, and lime. That actually sounds pretty fucking good. And if you're an anime fan, they are currently doing official collabs with Frieren, Chainsaw Man, and Solo Leveling, which is my fucking favorite anime. And I am actively drinking the Solo Leveling drink right now. Well, one of the two of them, which is the Shadow Monarch Surge, which is a blue raz purple grape flavor. And honestly, this is really fucking great. I recommend it. Right now, if you use code CJW Comedy at checkout, or if you click the link in the description, you can get 10% off your total order. And before I end this ad segment, I just want to say, if for any reason you want to email the show, whether you are a queer comedian who wants to get airtime, or if you just, I don't know, want to just say, fuck you, you can email the show at outloudqueerpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode. It really means a lot to me that you did, and let's get back to the episode.
What belief about comedy did you have early on that you've totally unlearned?
You know, I think it was actually my first couple of I remember like my first 3 months getting into comedy. I was very graphically sexual
Right.
in a lot of my acts, and I felt that kind of being able to like have that shock and awe and be willing to talk about that would kind of set me apart. And then I actually had my partner was the first person to say like, you know, maybe you should kind of like step away from this and try other stuff. And when I kind of stepped away from that, like, you know, oh, if I talk about this shock value, I'll get a reaction.
Mm-hmm.
But once I started kind of moving away from that, I just felt that the quality of my material that I was writing just really improved. Because it allowed me to kind of like having to work harder to get the laugh has made the quality of my comedy better.
Working harder. Okay.
Like more, or it's more of like avoiding a cheap gut reaction has made my comedy, I feel, just higher quality, smarter jokes that I'm prouder in.
Right. Okay. That's something I'm kind of like learning myself recently. Like I'm trying to like my first while doing comedy, I kind of was just like going for the gritty, like vulgar jokes, just like cheap cum joke here and there. But I'm kind of realizing that maybe I should start leaning more into cleaner comedy a bit.
Well, it's like it's not even necessarily cleaner. It's more about like I think it's more about being inventive about it. Like
Inventive.
I feel that there's always going to be a time and a place for a well-placed poop joke. Like
Right.
it's like that's always going to be something that's going to be able to get a laugh. If you build an act entirely out of poop jokes, that's not really quality craft.
No. When talking with a lot of other queer comics about the comedy community as a whole, I've gotten a lot of mixed reactions. Some say it's one of the most welcoming and understanding communities that there is, and others say that it's this incredibly toxic culture. Where do you stand on that, and or do you have a different opinion altogether?
I think there are pockets of both. Like, there are definitely like, you can't look at any comedy scene. Like every comedy scene that I've talked with other folks about, they always talk about like, there's always going to be kind of like, that little boys club of usually like a bunch of guys in like their 20s and 30s, and they'll tell some misogynistic or racist
Mhm.
jokes because they know it's going to get a reaction out of people. Like,
Yeah.
kind of leaning into that kill Tony style of like, it doesn't matter if it's offensive, it just matters that it gets a laugh. Uh, and at the same time, like there have been people who I would have expected to be way more, misogynistic, transphobic, things like that, and they surprise me. Like the probably one of the people who is most responsible for a lot of the success that I have is one of the owners of a comedy club here in Seattle, and he's a guy in his 70s, and he loves my material. I don't know what he gets out of it, but he loves my material. He's booked me for some of the biggest acts that I've had. He's booked me to, work with people like Gabby Bryan and Sophie Buttle.
Oh,
Yeah, and it's one of those things where like I've learned the longer I do this that I have to give everyone at least the benefit of a doubt for a while, as much as like, I may see them, I may see the way they hold themselves, I may see the way they talk. You really just have to give folks a chance. That being said, if you do give folks a chance and then they end up being rat bastards, I don't think there's any need to try to like, there's no need to try to pretend like you like them.
right.
I hate that more than anything of just like, that faux politeness of just like, oh, we're all in the scene, we all have to act nice together. If someone's a dick, you don't have to like, and you
Bro.
don't need to like act like everything's cool if it's not.
Hmm.
Like I think that it's important to kind of like, surround yourself with people you enjoy within a scene, and every scene's gonna have their pockets of people that you can find and connect with.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a fuck. I had a thought and then it just went away.
Oh,
I
good. I mean, so like even for an example for here in Seattle, like I know that there's a couple of different like boys' night poker games where it's a lot of like some of the bigger feature comedians and producers will get together and discuss this stuff, and it's all men. It's like just all
right.
cis white dudes. So I am starting my own queer poker night for like a bunch of the queer producers and like queer bigger comics in the area.
Oh
I'm
fuck
actually having
yeah.
the I'm actually having the first meeting shortly after this call.
Oh shit. Okay.
Yeah,
Oh, fuck yeah. I'd love to see that we have more spaces like that being made.
yeah, and that's definitely like the biggest thing is just I think especially now more than anything else is that comedy is kind of a community. It gives you a place to find people who have similar lived experience to you, and it's not it's because we all talk about it. We all talk about our life experience, and somebody might make a joke that super resonates with me, and then I learned that like we had a very similar part of our growing up experience.
So I have a little bit of a curveball question here.
Okay.
What's your comedy hot take that could get you canceled by other comics?
Ooh,
You are more than welcome to not answer this. This is the first time I'm asking this question to anyone.
okay. Man, that's a good question. Don't be afraid to ask. Don't be afraid to ask for it.
Yeah.
Like, one of the so my day job is I work in sales, and I have for a decent amount of time, and I find that sometimes, especially as somebody who's more of a marginalized voice, there are a lot of queer comedians in the community who kind of feel like they have to wait as opposed to just asking for the opportunity. Uh, getting most of my biggest gigs, like my first feature gig I had was just me asking the producer of one of my favorite bikes, like, "Hey, I want to do this. Can I have the opportunity?" And I was given that. And then the same thing with the comedy club where I perform most at. Like, I was just doing showcases every once in a while until I eventually got the courage to just ask the club owner, like, "Hey, I want to host. Like, I really enjoy hosting. I want to host." And then 2 months later, she gave me my first gig hosting for a touring comic, which was Gabby Bryan back
Oh
in
shit.
October. So I think there's this idea of like, you need to wait and constantly be working on putting in your time, putting in your dues, and then wait for someone to ask you. I think more of us need to get comfortable with asking for the opportunity.
That's easier said than done for like one of the most anxiety ridden communities that there is, but
Oh, exactly. And it's like definitely one of those things of, I think that it's one of those things where I tell, like, some of my other friends who are queer comics, like, you got the you're not doing it. All the straight white guys who have subpar material but confidence are doing it. So the
okay.
difference is that a lot of the queer comics I know are talented and have good material, but they don't have the confidence to do that. So I'd say ask for it. Ask for the opportunity. Worst thing that could happen is somebody could say no.
That is true. Worst thing that could happen is anyone say no. So that would definitely work like on a club promoter and not, your mom telling you, why don't you just email Lorne Michaels, see if he'll let you on SNL?
Yeah, and
Oh,
it's one of those things as well. Don't be afraid to just reach out to people cold. Like, my first out of state gig was just me cold calling producers in Portland just with tape and emailing them. Like, yeah, if you fucking email Lauren Michaels, it's not going to work. If you email the producer who's putting on the bar show in a town halfway across the state, you never know.
okay. So what I'm now currently seeing is I just had a message on Zoom pop up saying your free meeting will end in 10 minutes.
Mhm.
So let's try to just rapid fire this shit. All right.
All right, let's go.
All right. Who's a comedian you would love to open for but are terrified to?
Sarah Sherman,
Sarah.
100%.
Ooh,
Like I've gotten to see I've been seeing Sarah Sherman perform since 2017, back
right.
when she was doing small shows in New York City. She is she is from Long Island, which is where I'm from.
Hmm.
So I I've talked to Sarah multiple times as an audience member. I have gotten I don't want to say I heckled Sarah. I'd say that I've been heckled by Sarah. Um,
Real.
and she is a comedian of just like, I love big, brash, mouthy women. They're the type of
Real.
women that I try to emulate, the type of women that I grew up around. People like my aunts and, like, a bunch of people I know back from growing up on Long Island. I would She is definitely like the dream person I would love to open for. I would shit myself. Like, probably through my set and then have to waddle off afterwards. But I think
Uh,
she would also love that.
maybe.
I mean, she's gross like that.
Yeah. One having grown up kind of in the Seattle area, one comedian I've kind of always wanted to meet was Scott Loss.
Hmm.
And he actually performed at the Spokane Comedy Club like less than a week ago. And I was able to be with the Spokane Comedy Club, even just doing like open mics regularly, they will give you free show tickets.
Hmm.
So I went to one of his shows, but then immediately had to leave like after the opening acts, and he got like two jokes in because I got a text from my fiance telling me that he was having a fucking anxiety attack.
Oh no.
So unfortunately, I had to leave. And like I really like I would definitely be scared to go up to this person and be like, "Hi, can I
Hmm.
open for you?"
Hmm.
That I would shit myself absolutely. All right. If you had diplomatic immunity for 24 hours, how would you use it?
Oh God. Um, I would probably use it saying things that I can't say on this podcast in the current political climate. I'll leave it at that.
I mean, fair. I mean, I've always, at least in the first episode, I joked if people want me to not say things on my podcast, you can sponsor me to censor me. But
Yeah, it's definitely one of those things of having seen it sent out to trans content creators around the country. I'm gonna pick and choose my battles about what crimes I say I'd like to commit.
honestly, valid, so valid. All right, let's assume you go to therapy, which as a comedian is very likely not happening, but let's just say that it is.
Mm-hmm.
If you could choose any fictional character to be your therapist, who would it be and why?
I want to say like God, I'm forgetting the name of the character. What was the name of Robin Williams's character in Good Will Hunting?
Oh fuck,
The it's I,
yeah, fucking him, yeah.
well, it's also Robin Williams is definitely like he was when I was a kid. He was probably like my biggest comic inspiration. Like
Mhm.
when I was a millennial growing up with a VHS player, I was like I feel like every millennial has the one VHS that they played until it broke. Mine was Aladdin, and I always remember through a whole new world because I'm like, where's Genie? Get back to Genie. Like,
Get back to him. What is this fucking hetero shit? No, show me the blue man.
exactly. Give me the blue funny man.
God, no. What is genuinely so sad is I finally broke my VHS of Cruel Intentions.
Okay.
And it's not because I rewound it so many times, it's because it fell off the fucking shelf.
Ah, the worst.
I know, God, I have to hunt down another VHS of Cruel Intentions. Shit.
I'll keep an eye out for you.
How does being queer affect your comedy?
Well, I mean, I think it affects it a lot because, like I said, I just personally am a comic who I think a lot of my comedy comes from my lived experience.
Mhm.
So a big part of that, like especially like I'm planning on moving away from it a bit more this year, but like so much of my material from the past year has just been about me discovering new aspects of myself during my transition of just like sharing quirky little things with the audience, like you know letting audiences know that like one thing they don't tell you about transitioning is that you have to start on hot days, you have to deal with boob and ball sweat at the same time.
Yikes. Oh, I would hate that. I mean, as a fat man, I deal with that already, but
Hmm.
I feel like the added hormone of like HRT would definitely like make that worse for sure.
Yeah, this the sweat smells better, I'll say, at least
Oh,
in
okay.
my opinion.
Okay. What do you wish someone had told you before your first year of comedy?
I think I wish somebody would just tell me it takes time, keep practicing.
Mhm.
Because definitely like my first 6 months, I felt that every time I went to an open mic, I was like, I got to do something new.
Right.
And I would look at the comics who are like, oh, I've seen you do this same joke like, 5 times. And I'm like, well, that's because they're practicing. And that joke has gotten better every single time.
That
It's
is
like
true.
you gotta like, as much as it feels sometimes it's like, oh man, my friends have all heard this material like 1,000 times now. You're putting in reps. It's the
Mhm.
same as working out.
That is kind of like the biggest piece of advice that I always hear comics say, and it is very much true. But at the same time, I always feel like this kind of pressure because like being a comedian kind of in the age of social media, it's this huge catch 22 of like, oh, how do you get shows? Oh, you got to do numbers on social media. How do you do numbers
And
on social media? Oh, you do shows to like record footage to upload on social media. Okay, but how do you get shows? Oh, you got to do numbers on social. Like it's fucking.
and that's honestly to tie it back to the beginning of the conversation. That's why I started doing the kitchen sells videos because it allows me to do something to help farm engagement to drive more people to my social media so that I'm posting less of my clips so that way when people come to see me, they're seeing me fresh with jokes they don't know.
Okay.
Like,
Yes.
there's one of my very close friends in town, Jojo Blacko. They've popped off huge on TikTok. Like I think their 30-day Instagram number was like 7 million views or something like
How
that.
the fuck? Okay.
And they barely ever post their stand up. It's just all different like little one-off social media videos.
Shit. Yeah. Okay, I'm just going to go ahead and skip to this last question here because we've got 90 seconds. What kind of legacy do you hope to leave in the world of comedy, and what do you want people to remember you for?
Uh, I definitely, I don't, I'm the kind of person where I don't need to get big and famous. That's never really been my goal in comedy.
Hmm.
I've always wanted to be viewed as a comics comic.
Right.
Like that's kind of been the goal of just like, somebody who is influential and like, someday when the Gen Alpha, like, next huge comedian is like being asked about their influences, but somebody will say Billy Manton and the response will be who? But comedians will know who they mean.
Honestly, no. Honestly that yeah, no. That's I want that. I want as a cis man, I'm stealing your idea. Now, okay. It says we have less than a minute here.
Can you
Plug.
just do a second meeting or
I mean, we could, but I am a what you call unprepared bitch. Plug whatever you want to plug right now before Zoom cuts us off.
okay, I have got my solo produced show coming up next month in Seattle, Download Comedy at Jules May Saloon on February 13th at 7 o'clock. Be there.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode. Hope you tune into the next one. Please do me a favor and check out the show notes. There you're going to find our guest's social media as well as the stuff of my own that I'm plugging. I would like to give a shout out to my friend Morningstar for being the one to actually make the profile image for this podcast. Do you know of any other queer comedians that I should contact to see if I can get on this podcast? Let me know and I'll see if I can hunt them down. My name is Corbin Willmorth. Thank you for listening, and as a reminder, make sure you don't keep your head on straight.